All right, high school football is here, and that means the Dog Post crew was out seeing some top Georgia commitments, top Georgia targets in week one of the high school football season in Georgia. Always a great weekend. Love this time of the year. High school football is back. College football is right around the corner, and there's a lot to talk about. So multiple games over multiple days over the weekend, and that's basically what this video is all about. So let's jump right into it, right? Thursday, I went to go watch Milton and Collins Hill from a Georgia target perspective. Not a whole lot to see. I just want to get out there, right? Get in some high school football action. At Milton, they do have a 2025 wide receiver, CJ Wiley, that holds a Georgia offer. Not exactly sure where he is on Brian McClendon's board in that 25 class, but he's a big kid who can make some plays. Collins Hill has a sophomore defensive end, Deuce Gerald, who I've heard a lot about. He was excellent as a freshman last year. Georgia's one of the only bigger programs that hasn't offered him, but he's always fun to watch as well. So as far as that game goes, not a lot to really talk about. But the next day, we saw a Georgia commitment, Dylan Raiola, and a top Georgia target in the 25 class, Josh Petty, that I'm going to talk about in just a second. But first, want to plug the newsletter. There's a lot going on Dog Post right now. A lot of stories that you may have missed. Sign up to the newsletter. The link is down below. It's free. You get an email just about every day with all the stories that we've written, and a lot of them are free. So don't miss out. Sign up to the newsletter. That link is down below. So Friday during the day, it was a Corky Kell game, Fellowship Christian versus Mount Pisgah in the heat. We went to Roswell to watch Josh Petty, big-time 2025 offensive lineman. That is a class that's incredibly deep, and he is one of the best, about 6'4", 6'5", 270, lean but muscular at the same time. He was serving up pancakes on offense. He was getting after the quarterback at defensive tackle on defense, in the heat, playing both ways. Loved what he brings to the table. He and Juan Gaston Jr., I think, are five-star guys in the state of Georgia in the 25 class. So it's loaded in Georgia on the offensive line. Josh Petty's one of the best. He holds a Georgia offer, but it's a little too early to name favorites, right? I'm going to talk about him a little bit later, but of course, y'all want to hear about Dylan Raiola. Now, we did make a video a few days ago. It's online. You've probably watched it by now. Dean Leggy and I talked about what we saw from Dylan Raiola, and I thought he played really well, better than his stat line, which was 14 of 26. He did have 2 drops, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. We saw the elite arm talent. The kid can really make a lot of impressive throws. Was he accurate the whole game? No. Did he have a lot of pressure on him? Yes, he did. He had St. Francis defenders getting after him throughout the game. So, you know, there were times where it looked like he was throwing off his back foot a little bit. Other times where he was just throwing off balance. You know, I'm not a quarterback guru. I'm not a quarterback trainer. He's got one of those, right? I'm not trying to pretend that I know more than the guy who trains Dylan Raiola, but just would have liked to have seen him step into some throws a little bit more. Some balls that he missed, you know, were just out of the reach of a receiver. Some were underthrown, but for the most part, I thought he was dialed in, made some really nice passes. The throw he made to KJ Bolden, which you can watch over on Dog Post. I wrote a whole story about what I learned watching Dylan Raiola. And we've got some clips because obviously we were at the game getting lots of, you know, clips, highlights, pictures for y'all to enjoy. But he threw that ball into a really tight window. That's when I said, okay, that's an NFL throw. That's a 5-star throw. I get it. That's a glimpse of, you know, what he currently is most of the time and what he's capable of. And that was a strike to KJ Bolden in a really tight window. That was his second touchdown pass of the day. First one went to Tyshawn White, who is a North Carolina commitment. Put a little more air under that ball when he was wide open. I thought he could have, you know, zipped it in there a little more and just scored a little easier, but he kind of led him to the back of the end zone. It was complete. It was a touchdown. He hit a long pass late in the game that I thought was really impressive. There was one throw. It was incomplete. They actually got a pass interference call on it. I believe it's to KJ Bolden, where he threw the ball 65 yards in the air easily. And again, it was down the field. Big time throw, fell incomplete, but you know, I did the math in my head. Kennesaw State grad, right? I can do math in my head. Throw went about 65 yards in the air, so he can sling it. There's no doubt about it. I thought he played smart. He didn't turn the ball over, made key throws when he needed to, made some off-balance throws that were impressive, but he can read a defense. He was getting in and out of different plays, setting protections. I mean, he gets it. He knows how to play quarterback. He's not just a guy who has great arm talent and doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And that was easy to see. Showed some leadership qualities. Teammates love him. And again, he led them to victory. It was just 18-0. You know, Buford won because of the defense, but I thought he was very, very good. Now, the next day, we saw Quintavious Johnson, who was the defensive line commitment for Georgia in the 24 class, one of the lower-ranked guys, just a 3-star. I think he's barely in the top 50 in the state, but big kid, 6'4", about 240, played defensive end, that edge role, and he shed blocks, and he runs really well for his size, can get lateral, showed good pursuit of the ball carrier, delivered a couple big hits, helped make a big 4th down stop in the first half. And you can see the talent. He's raw, but he's a big kid, a good athlete, and the more he understands what he's doing, the better he's going to get. I think there is a high ceiling there for him. And again, it doesn't take long to look at the field and say, okay, that guy is the one committed to Georgia in this class. Moves really well for a bigger guy, but he's still lean. He still has the ability to put on more mass and muscle, and he's only going to get better. He came to the sideline a good bit during that first half, getting some breaks, getting some water, getting, by the fan. This was at 10 in the morning on Saturday, and I know he was out of breath. It was hot. It was really, really hot, but, part of me thought, okay, he needs to get into better shape, right? He's got to get into better shape. But then the second half starts, and he comes out on offense, and he's taking the ball, the Wildcat formation, and he, takes off for the first, 2 plays. He runs the ball with it. So then I said, okay, they were just kind of not, keeping him somewhat fresh, right? Not tiring him out all in that first half because they had a plan to use him running the ball. And in that heat, being able to play 2 ways is extremely tough, but that's what he did in the second half. But, just watching mostly the first half and a little bit of the second half, it's easy to see the potential that he brings to the table. I thought Dean shot really well, got some good clips of him, but he's got some muscle on him. Big, strong kid who latches on the offensive lineman and throws him, right? He latches on and tosses him, and then, goes to attack the ball carrier. And a lot of times the Douglas offense went away from him, so he was running the opposite direction a lot of times. They knew who he was, and they knew that they were going to have a really hard time running his way, so he definitely made an impact in the game. Douglas had they have a defensive back, wide receiver, running back who's going to play defensive back in the next level. Jonte Gilbert, former Ohio State commitment. I think South Carolina is probably the team to beat, but he's told me on multiple occasions that he likes Georgia, has a good relationship with the staff. He took a handoff about 18 to 20 yards in that first quarter, I believe, and it was impressive. He's got some bursts. He's got a long frame, 6'1", about 180 pounds. Definitely has D1 size. Cover corner who made a couple of really strong hits against the run that I noticed, but he broke up a couple passes, and he looks like a solid cover corner, one of the top defensive back prospects, not only in Georgia but across the South for that 2025 class, and he's a Georgia target to know. But again, going back to the first game we saw on Friday, Josh Petty is a big-time offensive tackle that I think Georgia fans need to be aware of. He definitely looks the part. He's got an ideal frame because he's not a super big guy who has to focus on losing weight. This guy can continue eating and get to the size where Georgia wants him to be. But he was really impressive playing both ways for Fellowship Christian in the sun. Didn't play against great competition, but he really stood out. And I think he does have 5-star potential. Of course, Fellowship Christian in Roswell, if you're in the area, make sure to check him out. Dylan Raiola was really good. That might be the best defense he sees all year. I expect him to play better and better as the season goes along. But he's got a lot of weapons, and he's going to get the ball out early. I think the offensive line of Buford needs to take a step forward as the landscaping guys decide to come through right now. I hope maybe I can edit that sound out. But of course, towards the end of the video, they start, mowing the grass and cutting down trees and all that. It is what it is. That's life. Sorry about that. If you can hear it, you definitely can. But yeah, we saw some targets, some commitments this weekend, and we're going to next weekend too. I'm going to go see Daniel Calhoun, 4-star offensive line commit out of Walton. Dean is going to go to Mallard Creek to see Dylan Raiola. So if you want more Dylan Raiola highlights next week, this is the channel to stay focused on. I don't know how many other people are going to go out there for that game. Dog Post will be there. I'm going to see Dylan Raiola the next weekend as Buford goes to North Cobb. Dean is going to be at Marist, getting Elijah Griffin, who is arguably the #1 player in the country in the 25 class. So we're going to be out. We're going to be seeing these kids, watching them play, giving out y'all new pictures to look at, new highlights to watch. So y'all are all tuned in on Georgia Bulldog recruiting, not only in the 24 class, but in the 25 class as well. I love this time of the year. I can't say that enough. Got to go watch the kids. If you want to talk about these kids and share with the Georgia audience what the dogs are getting in some of these guys, you got to go watch them play, and that's what we plan to do all season long. Going to see a lot of Dylan Raiola. We did last week. We're going to see him the next several weeks. So again, if you're looking for Dylan Raiola highlights, Dog Post is the place to be. If you've been enjoying these videos, like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. And again, sign up to the newsletter down below. The link, it's free to sign up. Really appreciate you all watching these videos as always. Sorry about the landscaping noise. Do that at another time next Monday. Yeah, appreciate you all watching these videos. Enjoy the next one, and I'll see you over on Dog Post.